justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
After the September 11th terror attacks, the United States was on the hunt for al-Qaeda in order to bring the perpetrators to justice. As the search and the resulting war in Afghanistan continued, U.S. intelligence turned its eyes on the Iraqi government led by Saddam Hussein. Intelligence officials were concerned that Iraq was in possession of weapons of mass destruction, including chemical and biological weapons, long-range missiles, and a potential nuclear program. Such weapons had been confirmed in the 1991 Gulf War, and UN Resolution 687 demanded that all weapons were to be dismantled. They reported with high confidence that they believed Iraq was in violation of the UN order. The CIA also feared that Iraq might attempt clandestine attacks against the US, and that Hussein would even be willing to partner with al-Qaeda in order to conduct such an attack. Despite the CIA reporting low confidence in their judgment of a potential attack, the US launched its invasion of Iraq on March 20, 2003. US President George W. Bush referred to Iraq's government under Hussein as an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality, showing that he too feared what Iraq could be capable of.
The nation stands with the good people of New York City and New Jersey and Connecticut as we mourn the loss of thousands of our citizens.
9/11 was a catalyst for unity amongst the American people, rivaling even the unity that followed the attack on Pearl Harbor. People from all walks of life were witness to the attack, and George Bush was adamant about finding whoever was responsible. Early sentiment was also one of strong nationalism against a foreign threat, but it was met with anti-war sentiment. Prior to Bush deploying troops, there were protests nationwide urging Bush to not invade Iraq. Pro-peace protests also took place in the UK, as former Prime Minister Tony Blair backed the invasion.
Thousands of demonstrators converge on Washington. They say we should not go to war against Iraq. I would just like to ask you this morning, what do you say to those people?
What I would say to them is that the president is trying every means not to go to war, but the decision to go to war is in the hands of Saddam Hussein.
But as the war progressed, no weapons of mass destruction were ever found. In fact, there was no evidence that Iraq had continued its nuclear or chemical weapons program after 1991, or their biological weapons program after 1996. A 2004 Senate review of pre-war intelligence concluded that intelligence analysts did not have enough information to state with certainty that Iraq has these weapons, attributing their conclusions to a dangerous groupthink dynamic. The Senate report also determined that there was little useful intelligence collected that helped analysts determine the Iraqi regime's possible links to al-Qaeda. This lack of meaningful intelligence suggests that fear led their decision-making rather than the facts. The invasion led to a real distrust for U.S. intelligence. The CIA and other intelligence agencies signed off on the imminent threat of WMDs in Iraq. However, when troops were deployed, they soon realized that the reports that weapons of biological and chemical weapons in Baghdad were overstated and misjudged. The only conclusion the Committee of Intelligence could come to was that Iraq had the capability of producing such weapons. Powell would go on to say that he regretted the speech because of its impact on the American people. The blame for the invasion largely fell on him, but he was given the same information as Congress and the President.
They call this liberation. What do you call it?
Invasion.
Today, 1 American died. Oh my God, that's a disaster. Today, 1,000 Iraqi died. So what? They are Iraqis, just like bugs or flies.
My fellow Americans, major combat operations in Iraq have ended. In the Battle of Iraq, the United States and our allies have prevailed.
On May 1st, 2003, President Bush declared mission accomplished, as all major combat operations ended in Iraq. Saddam Hussein, along with the Iraqi army, had been defeated, and the people of the long-oppressed nation were finally free. The The sweet taste of freedom did not last long, however. The initial hope Iraqis felt soon turned to despair as the country found itself in a much worse state than before the invasion. Looting, violence, and chaos ran rampant through the streets of Baghdad. To many Iraqis, the coalition soldiers went from being liberators to occupiers. Insurgency exponentially grew in the following months, which made the country spiral into what many Iraqis call the Dark Ages. This age the country found itself in was the most violent in its history, leading many Iraqis to regret their past and wanting to remove Saddam.
I am pleased to see him gone, okay, but we've just replaced Saddam Hussein with a greater power, which is the United States. We can't get the United States out of this country no matter what. It's too strong for this country. It's too strong for the people of this country. It's stronger than Saddam Hussein.
With the capture and execution of Saddam Hussein, the invasion could be considered a success. However, conflict throughout the Middle East has continued, and the U.S. presence never fully disappeared. In regards to the invasion itself, the claims that the Bush administration made were not backed up by the facts. The United States government instead used fear to garner support for the war. They used things that Americans were already familiar with and afraid of, like nuclear weapons and Al-Qaeda. They linked these two fears to Iraq by using false and misleading information. Americans should not have been lied to in order to get them behind the war. And this only begs the question, to what degree has U.S. intervention in the Middle East been honest?